Thank you for tuning in to No Flag Radio. I'm your host, P. Not finna vote. Today we talking about safeguarding a black agenda in politics by using our money. So as we know, a lot of these primaries and shit is coming up. All of this vote because I bully you shit that the coons and the Blexit and MAGA hat wearing coons unfell for, that's the bullshit, right? We smell that shit, right? All of this, vote because I put you in fear daily of being killed by me and my white supremacist groups that I sanction to kill your people. All that shit that we dealing with that is out here motivating coons to vote out of fucking fear. Let's just say that. They're voting out of fucking fear. That's not the equivalent of a motherfucker walking up to you, rolling you out a tangible agenda, right? You got all these Blexes, these Maj Tourés and the Moisty Boys getting their asshole ran through by the whole entire coon train. They just open up their ass and let the train run up in it. And they gonna stay getting their asshole ran through. Like that's the way to go. But the black empowerment crowd in this anti-black war, we killing that bullshit. You understand? We make moves. I said in my video about even voting locally doesn't matter. And also in my They Bribe, We Bribe video that voting if you black is dumb. We don't have people pushing our agenda to politicians like lobbyists speaking for a body of people, forcing that group of people's agenda onto politicians, or a raw-ass pro-black candidate that you pay to be pro-black, that we undergird with money to do our bidding. I also said that one thing black people have to understand is there's no point in voting in a white supremacist vacuum, because that's what the fuck you doing when you vote with no financial safeguard, without establishing a financial institution for your candidate to assimilate into. That's why y'all can miss me with all that local voting shit. Black people vote in plenty of cities that still have lead in the water at their children's schools. I talked about that in my Tone Talks animation. I got some more Tone Talk coming. I ain't stopped that animation shit. Y'all thought this shit was over? No. But look, you know they wouldn't allow lead in white people's schools in 2018. But here we have it in all of these predominantly black cities. This is going on. A part of candidate building on this channel that I talk about is money. Today we're gonna talk about putting that money in a black bank in your city. I've discussed it before about putting money in a black bank and earmarking it for our candidates. Well, I want to add more contour to that. Not just any black bank, you know. I looked into the 38 black banks that we have in the US, and a portion of them are like collegiate black colleges, HBCU owned kind of banks. A portion of them are Boule fraternity ran type banks. And I don't all the way trust that. You know what I'm saying? That money could disappear. Whenever white supremacists say, nigger, make that money disappear on them niggas and get your black asses out of town so they won't kill your black ass for stealing it. Give them niggers some excuse and skip town, nigger. For them black empowerment niggas kill your ass, right? That's what'll happen in some cases. In my research, I noticed that also a few of these black banks, just a few, change ownerships at times. So it's a little shaky with a few of them. Just a few though. So that's pretty encouraging out of the ones I was able to pull out. But luckily, this is something y'all will be glad to hear, black people. A lot of these black banks that go through hard times and, you know, have a few issues, a lot of them get bought up by guess who? Other black banks, which is a trend I've noticed. I didn't talk to y'all about this, but maybe about 3 weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, a little over a month ago maybe, I started doing my research on these black banks, and I was like, I'm finna bring something to my listening audience about these black banks. I just gotta do a little research. So I got some things that I want y'all to just kind of recognize as black bank culture as I'm talking about these black banks. But like I said, the fact that these banks getting bought up by other black banks, and it's a trend that I've noticed, like for multiple banks this has happened, that's good. It shows that black banks are on motherfucking code. Alright? It shows that there's some sort of camaraderie between black banks to keep it black and to have black society have access to capital. And let me just give y'all some examples. If I had to shout out some banks, I would say North Milwaukee State Bank. Those of our people out in North Milwaukee, they weren't allowed to fail. They were bought up by North Carolina Bank. If I had to do another shout out, I would shout out to the Seaway Bank in Chicago. They were another bank that was not allowed to fail. Well, they actually did fail, and they were given financial support first by the State Bank of Texas, like some bank out here in Texas. And currently today, they're afloat under the Self-Help Venture Fund, as well as money from the MacArthur Foundation. Self-Help Ventures Fund is a black situation going on, and they're also in North Carolina. North Carolina banks coming through. That's a good job, North Carolina. That's good work. But yeah, also they getting money from that MacArthur Foundation, and I'm sure you've heard of the MacArthur Foundation. They put money into shit like DACA and shit, and if you go on their site, they talk about this gun violence and gun awareness in Chicago type shit. That screams a white supremacist red flag to me when I hear gun violence in Chicago. That's number one, singling out a black geograph. And number two, it ain't really getting down to the bottom of the issue of white supremacist terrorist organizations and police running gun pipelines from Indiana into Illinois. These well-guarded, well-protected, well-routed white supremacist gangs full of police officers and former police and former military running a gun caravan into the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, and they just act like, oh, they just can't stop it. It just, all these reports, oh, we just can't stop it. We can't stop this pipeline. Right. But they making the block hot to try to keep the spotlight on the city, negatively making Chicago a media hotspot, forcing it to be a media hotspot on some hating shit. Right. Putting guns in the environment, and then want to talk about gun violence and a gun reform and gun problems and take people gun. Nah, shut that shit up. MacArthur Foundation ain't talking about that, and I'll raise an eyebrow to them because of that. But, you know, they try to play this intersectionality shit, and the line that they seem to walk when it comes to intersectionality seems to be about some pro-Latino shit. They got a bunch of Latino families posing and smiling on the site. So I'm already like, all right, I'm following the money, and I'm already like, all right, on that part of they shit. And they basically kind of surface level when they talking about black issues. That vague Chicago shit. Nobody want to hear that shit. If you're not talking about your prepper, militia, cop, fed complex that's running an operation to make Chicago look bad because Obama was from there and you want to make it look bad. And that's as far as white supremacists done thought it out. Definitely want to follow the money out there that the MacArthur Foundation is spending out there in Chicago. But overall, back to the trend that I'm noticing with the banks. The trend that I'm noticing between these black banks is good. How they handle each other, how they support each other. So what I want to do is this. I'm going to try to pull a phone interview with one of these banks over the coming weeks to see what agenda they have for the black community in terms of politics. I'm looking at One United Bank, okay? They are the biggest black bank in America, and they would no doubt set the most felt precedent in terms of being a flagship for managing black politics. And they're based out of Boston, Mass. This is the headquarters, but they got locations all over the nation. And I want to talk to them about setting a black banking agenda for pro-black politics. We don't need black politicians. We need pro-black politicians. We need pro-black empowerment politicians. I want to entertain One United Bank with the idea of specifically their role in possibly helping the black community in this regard. And if they don't have an agenda already for black banking, for pro-black politicians, we'll see if they're up for us setting one for them. Like live on the air, I want to do it. Here on No Flag Radio for the cities that they operate in. Let's just see what they're willing to safeguard financially and commit to safeguarding financially for pro-black candidates, pro-black lobbyists. Lobbyists got to get paid. Now, one part of my brain is like, put that money in a hole in the ground somewhere. Whatever money is for the candidates and the lobbyists, put that money in a hole in the ground somewhere. A literal hole in the ground. And I guess the bank people, they're going to have to talk me out of this kind of thinking, I guess, right? Once I fuck around and pull this interview off with them. But I mean, a hole where nobody knows where it's at except a few thorough members of the pro-black community. Maybe somebody who's close to the politician that's running, but they not running for shit. Somebody that's close to the lobbyists that we trying to put on the job, but they not the lobbyists themselves. They're gonna watch the hole being dug and watch the money being dumped into the hole. So they know, look, that money is there for you when it come time for you to do what we say do around this voting shit, around this politics shit. You know what I mean? Of course, we gotta know their child's address, their child's school, where their mama live at, where their daddy live at, where their niece live at, where their nephew live at, where their grandmama live at, where their baby mama live at. We gotta know all that shit up front, right? They gotta sign on for that shit, just in case shit goes side. You know what I'm saying? Cause oh yeah, the streets is gonna wanna know all of this shit, right? Okay. And I don't know, maybe we can have a representative of the bank there, you know what I mean? So they can know, look, y'all in on this too. Y'all in on this, keeping this money safeguarded. You know, this is just my way of putting black institutions, groups of people on the hook for our political well-being, which we have none at this point. This is why I brought it up. Even way, way before the elections, y'all know I brought this shit up. I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. But look, I'm talking groups of people. One person can disappear and escape getting fucked up or getting murked for playing with black people money if they fuck up. Right? That's pretty easy for one person to kind of escape and disappear. But it's kind of hard for a group of, 15 or 20 public bank officials to move their kids, move their mama, move their grandmama, move their baby mama, move their husband, move their sons, move their nieces overnight to escape somebody getting fucked up and murked all in unison. Right? But yeah. As an option, I would say it would be an option for us to run our vote safeguarding measures through our black banks as some of the first entities we approach with building our political candidates. If the banks fuck up, we make pariahs out of them. We let them know that traitorism will not be tolerated up front. This is on a city by city basis. What black people have to realize is that politics is a group sport first. Then it becomes a political party or a partisan sport secondly. Not beforehand, like they basically convince niggas to think every time an election come around. That's what all these scared voting niggas, that's what they don't get. But that's what I gotta say about that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that notification button so you know when I'm dropping. Get it, y'all.